Close your eyes. Tonight, you'll wake up in the cold shadow of a thatched roof. The ground beneath you is hard. It's not dirt anymore, it's something worse, old, packed earth with a memory of every aching night that's come before. The blanket, if you can still call it that, is thin and smells like feet and smoke. You pull it up anyway. It's not warm, but it's a habit. Take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see somewhere outside, a rooster you've hated for years is stretching his neck. You hear the little pre-crow grumble. That means you have maybe 3 minutes before he screams the world awake like he's doing you a favor. You are a peasant. Not the lucky kind with 3 goats and an attitude. Just the regular kind. Tired, sore, and already behind on rent for land you don't even own. Your back hurts. Not because you did something unusual yesterday, but because you did the same thing you always do: bend, carry, pull, dig. Over and over. Same tools, same field, same aching spine. Every day is a copy of the last, just a little worse around the edges. You sit up slowly. Your knees click like rusty hinges. A rat scurries out from somewhere it shouldn't be, and you don't even flinch anymore. You're not really scared of rats. You've got bigger problems. Like food. Or taxes. Or death. The usual. The fire's out. Again. You meant to keep it alive last night, but you were too tired and the wood was damp. You always think you'll do better the next night, but by then, your body's already made other plans. Like collapsing. Your shirt's still damp from yesterday's sweat. You smell like onions, dirt, and disappointment. There's something sticky on your elbow. You decide not to investigate. You step outside. No shoes, they're long gone. Just the cold kiss of mud between your toes and the sharp jab of a forgotten rock. You hiss through your teeth and limp a few steps. That's the morning ritual. No prayers. Just injuries. The village is quiet, except for that one dog. The one that barks at shadows and then licks its own but like it's solved a great mystery. You don't hate the dog. You understand it. Life's confusing. You head toward the field. It's still dark, barely light enough to see. Just a smear of gray across the sky. Birds are starting to chirp, like they don't know how cold it is. The tools are where you left them, leaning against the fence like they might do the work themselves. The hose handle is cracked. The shovel's bent. The wheelbarrow lost a wheel 2 summers ago and you never got around to fixing it. You just drag it now. You've gotten used to things being broken. You start to dig. Not with purpose, just because that's what the day demands. The soil is stubborn, half frozen from the night. It fights back like it's tired of you too. Your hands already have blisters, and you haven't even finished the first row. Your stomach growls. You tell it to be quiet. There's food at home, technically. A bit of boiled grain that smells like old socks. You're saving it for the kids. They're still asleep, curled up like puppies on the straw mat, dreaming of things they'll never have. Sugar, shoes, a soft bed. You sigh and keep digging. People like to say peasants lived simple, happy lives. Close to nature, they call it. Like you're on some eternal picnic. You want to laugh. But you're too tired. Nature, as it turns out, is not that friendly. Nature is cold, wet, and occasionally full of teeth. You've been bitten by everything, dogs, fleas, even a goose once. That goose still lives down the lane. It looks at you like it remembers. You walk faster when you pass it. The Lord who owns your land doesn't know your name. But he knows how much grain you owe him. He knows when you're late. He knows how to send men with sticks to take what's left if your children eat too much during a lean month. You tried complaining once. That was the year your neighbor disappeared. Just stopped showing up to the fields. No one asked questions. That's how you survive, not by speaking, but by staying forgettable. Your hands are numb now. Not from the cold, but from the repetition. You don't feel the shovel's handle anymore. You just feel a dull ache in your wrists that hums like a sad song. Sometimes you hum back. It passes the time. You pause to stretch. The sun is finally peeking out, golden and sleepy. It would be beautiful if it wasn't the signal for more work. You stare at it anyway. It's the only thing that doesn't ask anything from you. There's a bird overhead. A falcon maybe, circling like it owns the sky. You wonder what it sees. A patchwork of roofs, crooked fields, and people who look like ants, bending and breaking and not really going anywhere. You used to dream. Once. When you were younger and still believed things could change. You thought maybe you'd become a monk. Or a soldier. Something noble. But monks need to read, and soldiers need a strong back and no fear. You had neither. You stayed. Because that's what people like you do. You stay. You work. You vanish. Your hands are bleeding now, just a little. You wipe them on your shirt. There's no point stopping, the dirt will just climb back in tomorrow. The children greet you when you return, sleepy-eyed and barefoot, asking if there's food. You smile and lie. Plenty, you say. Eat slow so it lasts. They eat it all in 5 minutes and say thank you like it's a feast. You don't eat. You chew a piece of bark and pretend it's bread. It's not fooling anyone, but it keeps your jaw busy. As the sky darkens again, you sit outside the door. Just for a minute. The wind's soft tonight. It carries the smell of distant smoke and someone else's dinner. You think of your wife. She used to sing while she cooked. Even when there wasn't much to cook. She's gone now. Fever, probably. No one said for sure. You buried her under the old apple tree, the one that stopped blooming years ago. You close your eyes. Not because you're ready to sleep. Just because you're too tired to keep them open. The ground is cold. The blanket is still thin. And tomorrow will come too soon. But for now, just rest. You wake up coughing. The smoke from last night's cooking fire never really left the hut. It hangs in the air like a tired ghost, too stubborn to leave and too weak to scare you. You blink a few times. Your eyes sting, but it's better than freezing. The blanket's fallen halfway off during the night, and your knees ache like they've been grinding against stone. Which, technically, they have. The floor doesn't forgive anything. You sit up slowly, one hand pressed to your lower back. It makes a sound like a cracking branch. You grunt. Not because it helps, but because it's tradition. Someone's already moving outside. You can hear the shuffle of boots, the cough of an old man, the creak of a cartwheel that's needed grease since last harvest. It's always someone older than you who somehow looks younger. That's the trick of this life. It doesn't just age you, it drags you. You rub your face with your hands. They feel like burlap soaked in ice water. Calluses on top of calluses. Fingernails black from dirt and time. You stare at your hands for a moment. They don't even look like yours anymore. You used to imagine these hands holding something beautiful. A quill. A book. A lover. But they only ever hold shovels, ropes, or bowls you wish were fuller. The sun's not up yet. That's how you know you're late. You step outside. Same cold air, same one angry goose across the lane, giving you the eye like you owe it money. You nod at it politely. It hisses anyway. So rude. The field waits for you, again. It always does. Doesn't say thank you. doesn't even look different. You wonder sometimes if it's actually growing anything at all, or if you're just moving dirt around to keep yourself busy until death comes knocking with a polite little cough and a sack. Your neighbor is already out there. Old Ewan. He's been digging the same patch for 3 decades. You wave to him, and he waves back, but no one smiles. Not because you don't like each other, it's just too early for pretending. You dig. Same motion, same rhythm. Push, lift, turn, sigh. It's not even pain anymore, it's just the way things are. Every once in a while, someone from the manor rides past. One of the Reeves men, maybe. On a horse that looks cleaner than any child in your village. They don't look at you. Not really. Just over you. Like you're part of the landscape. Less interesting than a tree. The Lord's son passed through last week, on a hunt. He had a hawk on his arm and a fur-lined cloak dragging through the mud you sleep in. You stared too long, and he noticed. Called you Dungfoot. Thought it was funny. You laughed too. What else could you do? You tried not to remember it later, but of course you did. You always do. By mid-morning, your stomach's singing again. You left the last of the oats for the kids. You chew on a bit of boiled turnip someone gave you last week. It's gone soft. Smells like regret. A passing cloud covers the sun for a few seconds. You look up. The sky feels big. Too big for people like you. You wonder what's beyond it. Not heaven, that's for priests and nobles. Just, somewhere else. Somewhere that doesn't smell like wet wool and burned onions. You wonder, what if you'd left? What if, when you were young and angry, you'd walked away? Followed the river. Climbed a hill. Found another village or, something better. But then what? There's always a river. Always a hill. And always another field that needs digging. People like you don't get new lives. You just get older versions of the same one. You go back to work. Someone calls your name, barely above a whisper. It's Marta. She brings a jug of water, cradled in her arms like it's treasure. You haven't spoken to her much since her husband died last winter. He went fast, fever in the lungs. No priest came. No coins for that. You nod your thanks and take a sip. It tastes like dirt and gratitude. She sits beside you for a minute. Says nothing. Just breathes next to you, slow and quiet. That's something rare. A person who doesn't fill silence with empty words. Just presence. You wish you had more to give her than silence in return. But she's used to that too. You remember your wife again. Not her face, exactly, time wears that down. But the sound of her laugh when something burned and she tried to pretend it hadn't. That little spark of mischief that didn't survive her last winter. You wonder if you'll ever laugh like that again. The day goes on. Time doesn't pass so much as, melt. Like old wax on a candle that's burned too low. At some point you hear shouting. Down near the mill. Another fight over flour, probably. Someone thinks the miller's skimming. He probably is. But the Lord gets his share, so no one dares say much. You used to care. About justice. About fairness. Now, you mostly care that the shouting doesn't come your way. You keep your head down. That's what keeps you safe. Not courage. Not cleverness. Just smallness. A bell rings faintly in the distance. Not church, just the manor calling its workers. You pause for a second, letting the wind wash over your skin. It smells like hay and sweat. And something faintly rotting. That could be you. You chuckle quietly. It surprises even you. Still a little life in there, maybe. Eventually, the sun begins to slide down again. Not fast. Just steady. The way it always does. You pack up your tools, drag your half-broken barrow back toward the hut. Your children are waiting. One has found a stick shaped like a sword. He swings it proudly and says he'll be a knight someday. You smile and don't say what you're thinking. Knights don't come from people who sleep on straw and boil dandelions for dinner. But maybe, he'll be the one who gets out. The one who climbs that hill and doesn't turn back. You warm the last of the soup. If you can call it soup. It's mostly water with ambition. You pass the bowl around. Everyone takes a little. No one complains. Hunger teaches good manners. The wind picks up. You close the door and stuff a bit of fabric in the cracks. It won't stop the cold. But it feels like trying. And sometimes, trying is all you can afford. You lie down again. Same hard floor. Same aching joints. But tonight you let your hand rest beside Marta's for a while. Neither of you says anything. You just breathe together in the dark. Two tired lives. Still here. Still trying. You're dreaming, but it's not a good one. You're walking through the village barefoot, like always, but this time the mud pulls at your feet like it doesn't want to let go. The sky's low, heavy, and strange, the color of old bread left too long in the rain. You hear voices calling your name, but no one's around. Just smoke curling from chimneys and shadows that won't explain themselves. You wake with your heart thudding softly, but it fades fast. Just another dream without meaning. You shake the chill off your shoulders. The fire's dead again. A few coals glow like sleepy eyes, half open. Marta's gone from the mat beside you. Maybe she's gone to the stream. Maybe she couldn't sleep either. You stretch, wincing as your ribs pull tight against skin that's thinner than it should be. Your stomach is quiet, but not because it's full. It's given up arguing. The children are still asleep. One's murmuring something in a dream, a word you don't understand. You tuck the blanket tighter around them. It's thin, but maybe it helps them believe they're warmer than they are. Belief goes farther than fabric, sometimes. Outside, morning hasn't decided if it's arrived yet. The sky is pale and directionless, like it's still waking up too. You push open the door and step into the kind of cold that feels personal. The kind that finds the crack in your sleeve, your collar, your thoughts. There's a layer of frost on the woodpile. Not that it matters. Most of the logs are gone, and the rest are too damp to burn. You make a note in your mind to gather more later, though your back protests the idea. Marta's near the well, pouring water into a pot. She doesn't look up, but she knows you're there. You can tell by the way she shifts her stance, just slightly, like she's leaving room for you beside her. You don't speak. It's too early for talking. Too early for pretending you slept well. You just listen to the soft trickle of water, the quiet thud of wood against stone. You used to think silence meant nothing was happening. Now you know it means everything is. Just, quietly. You carry the pot back together. The steam from the water fogs your face, warm for a moment. It feels like being touched gently, and you try not to flinch at that, like it's unfamiliar. Breakfast is thin again. Porridge made from grains that smell more like dust than food. Still, the kids smile. One says it tastes like honey. You want to believe them. But you know they've never tasted honey. You eat the last few bites, not because you're full, but because it's there and wasting food feels like a sin larger than theft. Then it's time. Again. Time for the field. You carry your tools like you're carrying a memory you don't want to keep. Every step is heavy, not from pain, but from the repetition. It's the same walk you'll take until the day your heart decides it's had enough. At the edge of the field, someone's left a bundle of cloth under a tree. You squint at it. It moves slightly. A person. It's Danik, the boy who used to sing while he worked. He's asleep, arms curled beneath his head, face blotchy and red. You remember hearing he'd been beaten by the Reeve last week for not showing up. His mother begged for mercy. Got silence. You nudge him gently with your foot. He blinks up at you, eyes dull and dazed. Morning, you say softly. Is it? He mumbles. You offer him a piece of dried root from your pocket. He chews slowly, like it takes more energy than he has. You don't ask if he's okay. You both know the answer. Back to work. The field is harder than usual. The soil's dry beneath the top layer, cracked like old hands. You chip away at it, slow and steady. Your body aches in all the usual places, but you'd missed too many things. The way your youngest wraps their fingers around yours. The way Marta looks at you when the firelight hits her face just right. The sound of chickens arguing behind the neighbor's hut. Little things. But they keep you here. That night, you find a coin under a loose stone near the fence. Just a small one. Not enough for a loaf of bread, but enough to make your heart skip. You slip it into your boot. No one saw. You wonder what you'll spend it on. Maybe a candle. Or a ribbon, for Marta. Something absurd and unnecessary, something beautiful. Dinner is boiled greens and old carrot. You eat it slow. You savor it, even if it tastes like boiled boot. Afterward, you sit outside with the children. The stars are shy tonight, only a few blinking through the clouds. You point one out and say it's a night's lantern. They laugh, not because they believe it, but because they want to. Marta hums softly beside you. You close your eyes. Not from sleepiness yet, just to rest. Just to breathe without being watched. You remember your father's hands, how large they looked when you were small. How tired they were even then. He used to say the stars were pinholes in heaven's roof, little leaks of light for the ones still stuck below. You wonder if he was right. You wonder how many names like his have been buried, unmourned, unknown. All those hands. All that silence. You wonder if yours will be next. But not tonight. Tonight, there's still a blanket, a whisper of warmth, and the sound of breathing beside you. That's enough. The night was quiet, but not soft. The wind found its way into the cracks again, brushing across your cheek like an unwelcome memory. Somewhere in the dark, a dog barked once, then stopped. The world held its breath. You're awake, though you're not sure why. You lie still, eyes half open, watching the wooden beams above you fade in and out of the dim glow from the coals. Someone must have stirred the fire. Marta, probably. Her fingers know where to find warmth, even in sleep. You listen. The hush of the hut. The breathing of children. The sigh of the wind. No danger. No visitors. Just that old ache in your chest again, the one that feels like it's made of silence. You drift off. And wake again just before dawn. Your back has ideas about protesting. Every joint feels like a rusty hinge. But there's no time to argue with your bones. The world's already moving. You step outside. The sky is iron gray, and the air smells like wet dirt and chimney smoke, the perfume of your life. A light drizzle starts, soft as a whispered complaint. Today is washing day. Marta is already out with the bucket and lye soap. She's kneeling by the stream, her hands red with cold, sleeves wet up to her elbows. You see her lips moving. Maybe a prayer. Maybe a curse. You can't tell which is which anymore. You join her. She glances at you, tired eyes softening. No need for words. You scrub together, the fabric stiff and stained with everything life throws. The shirt you wear most days, brown, scratchy, patched at the elbows, it's older than your youngest child. Probably older than your oldest, if you're honest. But it still holds. Sort of. Like you. The cold water bites your fingers. Not sharp, just steady, like guilt, or winter. You think about how this work never ends. It circles back around, always. Dirt, soap, rinse, repeat. You remember someone once said that peasants didn't bathe. That they were filthy all the time. You smile a little. If only they knew how much time you spent scrubbing, scraping, rinsing, wiping, boiling, repeating, not because it made you clean, but because it made you feel human. You used to dream of clean things. White linen. Warm water. Scented oils. Maybe not anymore. Maybe you've stopped dreaming altogether. Back at the hut, you hang the clothes near the fire. The children wake slowly, rubbing sleep from their faces like it's a luxury they can afford. One asks if there's bread. You nod, even though there's only a heel left. You break it into pieces small enough to pretend it's enough. Today, you've been asked to help repair the manor roof. It's not common, being called up there. Usually you're in the fields or patching fence posts or digging another pointless ditch. But today, the stewards picked you. Maybe because you didn't complain last week when they made you clean the pig's pen. Maybe because you did complain, and he liked your tone. Who knows? You don't like walking toward the manor. Not because it's far, it isn't. But because the path to it feels like a reminder. Of what you don't have. Of who you'll never be. The stones are slick from the rain, and your boots, if you can still call them boots, squish with every step. You pass by the church, where the bell is still cracked from last winter's freeze. No one's fixed it. Not worth the cost. The manor looms ahead. Tall. Cold. Watching. You reach the gate and nod to the guard. He doesn't nod back. Just looks at you like you're dirt that stood up and started walking. You're used to it. You're led to the roof with another peasant, an older man named Hadrick, with a crooked smile and a cough that never leaves. You've worked with him before. He smells like boiled onions and bitter memories. But he's kind. Quiet, too. You like that. The roof is slick. You climb carefully, palms stinging from the rough wood of the ladder. The tiles are broken in places, cracked in others. Water's gotten into the beams below. Rich people's problems. You start your work, one tile at a time. It's strange being up this high, not high enough to feel free, but high enough to feel the wind press into your ears and the world shrink below. You can see the whole village from here. Thatched roofs like a field of sleeping beasts. Smoke curling up like forgotten prayers. Hadrick hums an old tune, low and tuneless. You recognize it. Your grandmother used to sing it when she shelled peas. It's about a fox who steals a chicken and gets eaten by the moon. Or maybe that was just her version. You ask him how long he's done this kind of work. Longer than my teeth have lasted, he mutters, grinning with half of them. He points to a spot in the woods far off. Used to be a spring there. Clear water. Cold as a widow's tears. Gone now. Gone where? He shrugs. Maybe it just got tired. You think about that. Water getting tired. Like people do. Like dreams. You work until your arms feel like rope. Your hands sting with splinters. Your stomach growls but gets ignored, as always. A servant brings you a bowl of soup. It's warm, watery, and strange. Rich people's soup. No chunks, no salt. You prefer your wife's. Hadrick wipes his mouth and says, "This is the part they don't sing about. All the songs are about nights and feasts. Not about patching someone else's ceiling with soup in your stomach." You nod. You've never been in a song. You probably never will be. That's all right. Songs forget people like you. But Marta remembers. The kids remember. That's enough. As the day ends, you climb down slowly. Your knees ache. Your back complains. Hadrick pats your shoulder once, then limps away, whistling. You head home. Past the same fields. Past the cracked bell. Past your own thoughts. The hut is warm, just barely. Marta smiles at you. You hand her the small cloth you found by the manor door, rich fabric, dropped and forgotten. She takes it without a word and starts cutting it into strips for the baby's blanket. You sit down. The kids crowd around. One wants to show you a rock they found. Another wants to braid your hair. You let them, even though your scalp protests. The night falls slowly. Sleep pulls at you, gentle this time. You think about that spring in the woods, the one that disappeared. You wonder if it's hiding somewhere, waiting to return. Or maybe it became mist, floating just above the village, looking down, remembering. You hope so. You close your eyes. But that is a story for tomorrow night. You wake before the sun. Not because you want to. Just because your body has forgotten how to sleep past dawn. It's the cold that nudges you first. That soft, familiar kind that curls around your toes and whispers, still here. You pull the thin blanket tighter. It's no use. The chill has already found its way in. A child shifts beside you, their breath warm and steady. One small hand clutches your sleeve like you might vanish. You won't. Not today, anyway. The fire has gone out. You sit up slowly. Your knees remind you that ladders were climbed yesterday. Your back hums with a dull ache, like a song that never ends. Marta's not here. Of course she's not. She's probably outside already, trying to coax flame from damp wood. She's always first. Always a little ahead of the world. You step outside, barefoot, onto the frost-dusted earth. The grass crunches gently beneath you. The sky is a grayish blue, soft and heavy, like wet wool. The air smells of damp ash and animal breath. You find Marta near the coop, frowning at a pile of feathers. Something's gotten in. A fox, maybe. Or just bad luck with wings. She doesn't speak. Just stands there, arms crossed, eyes narrowed like she's trying to solve a riddle no one wrote down. You place a hand on her back. She leans into it for half a second. 3 gone, she says quietly. You nod. Not much else to do. You were counting on those eggs. So were the kids. So was your stomach. You bury the feathers behind the hut. Out of sight, if not out of mind. Breakfast is just broth. Thin, but warm. You let the children have most of it. You chew the wooden spoon afterward, just for the memory of fullness. It doesn't help. There's talk in the village this morning. The kind that travels on wind and worry. Someone's son caught poaching. They say he set snares too close to the Lord's forest. They say he's being held. No one says his name. Saying it might make it real. You knew that boy. He once gave your daughter a carved button. Said it was lucky. She lost it in the river last spring. You wonder if he knew. That the trees were watched. That the deer belonged to someone else. That even hunger can be illegal if you reach too far. You wonder if you would have done the same. You might still. You head toward the fields with a spade that's more splinter than handle. There's a ditch to be cleared, again. It fills with mud faster than anyone can empty it. A metaphor, maybe. Or just bad drainage. The ground sucks at your boots as you work. Wet and stubborn. Every scoop feels like lifting the earth itself. Your hands blister, then numb. You're too tired to be angry. The sky spits rain in your eyes. You don't bother wiping it away. At noon, you sit under a crooked tree. The wind plays with your hair, slow and cold. Someone nearby is humming. A low, tuneless sound, like stones rolling in a sack. It might be Hadrick again. Or just your thoughts. You close your eyes for a moment. Let the drizzle wash your face. Pretend it's a bath. Pretend you're somewhere else. When you open them, you see the church on the hill. Its bell tower is still cracked. The priest stands outside, staring at the sky like it owes him something. Maybe it does. Maybe it owes you more. Later, you walk home through the village. Smoke curls from crooked chimneys. A pig roots through a pile of scraps. A child laughs, then cries. Life continues, not forward, just around. At the edge of the path, you pass the old woman with the missing teeth. She's sitting on a stump, mumbling to herself and threading bits of string into shapes. No one remembers her name. You don't either. But she always smiles at you. Today she doesn't. She just says, "Storm's coming." You glance at the sky. It doesn't look like a storm. Just dull and damp and tired. Like everyone else. But still, you nod. Because she's been right before. Home again. You hand Marta the small piece of cloth you found near the ditch. Looks like someone tried to stitch a name into it, then gave up. She turns it over in her fingers. "It's soft," she says. "Richer than us," you reply. She doesn't laugh, but her mouth twitches like it wants to. The children crowd around as you remove your boots. One of them hands you a small rock, smooth and round. "For luck," they whisper. You keep it in your pocket, even though you don't believe in luck. But belief isn't always the point. Supper is thin again. But warm. Always warm. Marta knows how to make warmth out of almost nothing. You wonder how. Outside, the wind grows louder. The trees whisper secrets to one another, bending low under the weight of what's coming. Inside, the fire sputters and catches. Orange light flickers across the wall, dancing like stories that never got told. You sit with Marta. No words. Just breathing. Just being. She reaches for your hand. Yours is cracked and dirty. Hers is cold and calloused. They fit. You look around at the hut. The uneven beams. The patched roof. The corner where the baby sleeps. The lines on Marta's face. The dirt under your nails. And you wonder, not for the first time, what if you'd been born elsewhere? To someone else? In a place with warm floors and full bowls and soft shoes? Would you be different? Would you be better? Or just the same, in different clothes? You'll never know. Outside, the storm arrives. Quiet at first. Then louder. Rain tapping the roof like it's asking to be let in. You close your eyes and listen to it. It sounds like the sky crying in secret. Maybe it is. You curl beneath the blanket. One child pressed against your chest, another curled behind your knees. Your body is a shelter, whether it wants to be or not. You think about the boy in the Lord's cell. About the soup without salt. About the storm. And about Marta's fingers brushing against yours in the dark. You don't dream. You don't need to. You're still here. The storm stayed all night. Rain tapped the roof like nervous fingers. Wind moaned through the cracks, lifting corners of the thatch and whispering things you didn't want to hear. The fire died quietly, too tired to argue with the damp. But you didn't move. You stayed curled, half awake, half asleep, wrapped in the quiet weight of your family. A pile of breathing warmth. A tired shelter made of ribs and dreams. Now it's morning. You don't open your eyes right away. You can feel the air, thick, wet, still angry. The storm has passed, but its shadow remains. It sits in the corners, dripping. Marta stirs beside you. Her breath brushes your cheek. You remember a time when that made you smile. Maybe it still does. You sit up slowly. Bones creak. Muscles ache. Your right knee has decided today it won't pretend to be useful. You stretch it anyway. No one gets rest here, not really. Only moments. The children are still asleep. You don't wake them. They'll wake soon enough, and the day will ask for more than it gives, like always. Outside, the world is wet and sagging. Mud everywhere. Water pooling in the ruts between huts. A chicken wades through a puddle, looking more confused than usual. You step outside, careful not to slip. Your foot sinks deep into the earth. Your boot makes a soft sucking sound as you lift it again. The smell of wet straw and wood smoke is thick in the air, sharp and honest. The village feels smaller in the rain. Like it's shrinking. Or hiding. Marta joins you. Her hair is damp from the leak above the bed. She holds a bucket, already heading for the well. You watch her walk, steady, practical, quiet. If the sky fell down, she'd sweep it out of the doorway before breakfast. You follow her eventually. Not to help, not yet. Just to move. To feel the day begin. At the well, you pass the old woman again. The one with string for hair and stories for teeth. She's talking to herself, or maybe to someone you can't see. She warned me, she says, looking at you. Told me the water would rise. Told me it'd take things. You nod, because what else do you do with that? On your way back, you notice the chapel door is open. That's odd. The priest never leaves it open, not with the chickens nearby. They once got inside and left a message no one could translate. You peek in. The place is cold, stone gray. A puddle has formed by the altar. The stained glass is cracked, the saint's face distorted, as if he's trying not to cry. You sit in the back for a moment. Not to pray. Just to be somewhere dry. The wood creaks beneath you. You wonder how many peasants sat here, asking for mercy. For rain. Then for the rain to stop. For bread. For healing. For justice. You wonder how many answers they got. Back at the hut, Marta started a fire. The children are awake now, arguing over who gets the dry spoon. You pretend not to hear. You used to settle these things. Now they sort themselves out, mostly. You grab the spare cloth and start wiping the walls. The damp has crept in again, like it always does. The thatch above the door leaks in a pattern. You could map it. Make a star chart out of where the drops fall. You almost laugh. But then you think about the boy who went missing. The one caught poaching. No one's seen him since. The steward hasn't said a word. That's usually a bad sign. You remember his carved button. The one your daughter lost in the river. It probably floated down to the next village. Or sank. Or got swallowed by something hungry. Everything gets swallowed eventually. You spend the afternoon fixing fence posts. Not your fence, of course. The one around the manor pigs. The steward points to it with a face like sour milk. Foxes, he says. And maybe thieves. He doesn't say which worries him more. The work is slow. The mud sticks to everything. Your hands, your knees, the tools. You drive the posts into the ground one by one. The wood groans. The earth groans louder. You wonder what it would be like to run away. To disappear into the forest. Take Marta. Take the children. Find a dry cave and pretend the world is fair. But the forest is watched. The rivers are taxed. Even the air costs something now. So you hammer another post. Later, you find yourself at the stream. The same one where Marta washes clothes. Today it's higher. Angry. It crashes over the rocks like it's trying to break something. You crouch beside it, fingertips brushing the water. It's cold, but clean. You stare at your reflection. It doesn't look like you anymore. Just some tired stranger with too many thoughts and not enough teeth. You hear footsteps behind you. It's the priest. His robe is muddy. His hair is damp. Storm did damage, he says. You nod. 3 homes flooded, he adds. 1 collapsed. You nod again. He sighs, like he expected more. Then he looks at the water. Used to be we'd bless this stream, he says. Every spring. Prayers, flowers, the whole thing. Haven't done it in years. Why not? He shrugs. No one asks anymore. You think about that. No one asks anymore. You walk home slowly, the sky dimming. Dusk settles like dust, quietly, without permission. Marta's already lit the fire. The children are curled in a corner, whispering stories they half remember. One of them is about a knight who sleeps for 100 years in a castle full of wolves. You're not sure if it's supposed to be scary or comforting. You sit down beside Marta. She hands you a bowl of something warm. It smells like turnip and hope. You eat it slowly, letting it rest on your tongue. She leans against you. Fence hold, she asks. For now. She nods. That's enough. The wind picks up again, brushing against the hut like a hand on canvas. The fire crackles softly. One child starts to hum. Another snores. You look at the wooden beams overhead. Count the drips. 1, 2, 3, pause. You think about the boy who never came back. About the saint in the chapel with the broken face. About the stream and the old woman and the world that keeps asking you to give more than you have. But you're still here. Still breathing. Still part of something. The fire flickers. Marta's fingers find yours in the dark. You close your eyes. The wind has quieted. It must be deep night now, the kind that feels older than you, heavier than your bones. The fire is only a whisper. A few glowing embers, clinging to their own small lives. Everyone is asleep but you. You listen to the stillness. It's not silence, not really. There's the soft breath of children, the creak of the wood above you, and the distant sound of water, dripping from somewhere it shouldn't be. But it feels quiet enough to hide inside. Like the night is wrapping you in something gentle. You shift a little. Not enough to wake Marta. Just enough to feel the ache in your back again, like an old friend tapping your shoulder. There was a time you thought pain was something to escape. Now it's more like a familiar tune. Not pleasant, but known. Predictable. Yours. Outside, the mud will be worse in the morning. You already know that. The path to the fields will suck at your boots again, like it wants to keep you. But for now, there is no path. No steward. No ditch to be cleared. Just this small room. This pile of shared warmth. Your hand rests on your chest. You can feel your own heartbeat. Still slow. Still steady. You think of the chapel again, the cracked glass, the priest's quiet disappointment. And you wonder, why did they stop blessing the stream? Was it that people forgot? Or just gave up? You wonder how many other small things were let go, quietly, without protest. Traditions. Names. Hopes. You remember when Marta used to sing. Just softly, in the evenings. While shelling peas or winding string. Little songs her mother gave her, and her mother before that. You haven't heard her sing in weeks. Maybe she forgot, too. Or maybe the world just got too loud for melody. You shift again. The child at your side breathes out sharply, then returns to dreaming. What do they dream about, you wonder? Surely not fields or fence posts. Maybe about flying. Or bread that never runs out. Or clean clothes that dry without smoke and string. You hope it's something bright. Eventually, your eyes close again. And morning, as it always does, arrives too early. It's gray. Damp. The air smells like wet wool and wood ash. Someone's burning something that shouldn't be burned, again. You wrinkle your nose and stretch, one joint at a time. Marta's already up. The fire's been coaxed back to life. The children are still tangled in sleep. You envy them. A little. Your feet find your boots. Still wet, somehow. They always are. You pull them on anyway and step outside into a world made of puddles. The sky has no color today. Just a flat sheet of cloud, heavy and low. You pass the goat on the way to the common path. She looks at you like she knows more than she should. You nod at her. She blinks slowly, unimpressed. At the edge of the village, there's a crowd. Well, not a crowd. Just more people than usual, all standing too close together, not speaking. That's always a sign something's wrong. You step closer, slowly, careful not to slip. The steward is there. On a borrowed horse, looking slightly too small for it. He has a scroll in one hand. He waves it like it means more than it does. You catch a few words. New taxes. Rain damage. Lord's patience. You stop listening. Marta stands next to you, arms crossed. Her jaw tight. Her eyes focused on something past the steward, as if she's trying to see through time. The scroll goes on. Something about quotas. Something about grain. Something about nobility of sacrifice. You nearly laugh. But you don't. No one does. Afterward, the crowd thins. Not with words, just with walking away. Everyone heading back to their chores, like nothing happened. Like they're not already behind on what little they have to give. You and Marta walk together in silence. At the stream, you stop to check the banks. The water's higher than yesterday. The edges are soft, slowly falling inward. You used to play here, as a boy. There was a flat stone you'd pretend was a boat. You'd sit on it and push off with a stick, imagining places beyond the forest. You look for it now. It's gone. Maybe buried. Maybe taken. You kneel, let the cold water run over your fingers. It's clearer today. Less angry. Almost kind. Back home, the children are drawing on the dirt floor again. Shapes, stories, things they saw in dreams. One of them draws a bird with too many wings. You don't ask. Dreams are strange. You sit near the fire. Marta hands you a scrap of bread. You break it in half and give the bigger piece back to her. She frowns, but eats it anyway. You chew slowly, letting each bite last longer than it should. Your eldest crawls into your lap. They're getting too big for it. But you don't say so. They ask, why don't we live in the big house? Like the Lord. You smile, soft and tired. Because we don't have enough pigs, you say. And we forgot how to look angry while doing nothing. They giggle. Dry humor is a kind of shield. Later, you fix the leak above the bed. Or try to. It's more patching than fixing. More hoping than solving. You press a woven reed mat against the hole, tie it tight with twine, and step back. It holds, for now. Everything does, until it doesn't. That night, you don't eat much. The stew is thinner than usual. You can see the bottom of the pot too clearly. But no one complains. Marta hums, just once, while she stirs. You catch it. A half-forgotten tune. It wraps around the room like smoke. The children fall quiet, listening without knowing why. When it ends, no one speaks. You lie in bed later, staring at the patched ceiling. Your stomach makes soft complaints. Your knees echo back. But you feel a little fuller. Not from food. From something else. A thread that hasn't broken yet. The wind picks up again, brushing past the hut like a ghost that knows your name. You close your eyes. Still here. Still holding on. You wake before the rooster this time. It's still dark. Not the kind of dark that scares you, not anymore. Just the kind that hides the world for a little while longer. The kind that lets you exist without being needed yet. The fire is cold. Of course it is. You didn't feed it enough last night. Couldn't spare the wood. Couldn't spare the strength. You sit up slowly, gently shifting the blanket from your shoulders like it's made of paper. The child beside you sighs and rolls into the warmth you left behind. The air smells like sleep and smoke. A trace of damp straw. Something almost sweet. Maybe someone's still dreaming. Your breath fogs in the cold. You hold your hand in front of your face, watching it disappear and reappear like a ghost. You're still here, you remind yourself. That counts. Outside, the ground is frozen. You feel it through the soles of your boots, that thin layer of earth that turned hard overnight. It crunches underfoot, just barely. A soft, reluctant crunch. Like the ground's trying not to wake the trees. You walk to the well with the bucket in one hand and your other hand tucked under your arm for warmth. The sky is starting to fade from black to gray. The horizon looks like an old bruise, dull purple, yellowing at the edges. There's frost on the stones. You touch it. Just because. The well creaks as you lower the bucket, its rope stiff from cold. You hear the splash below. It takes longer than usual to haul it up. Everything takes longer in the cold. Even your thoughts. On the way back, you pass Marta. She nods at you without smiling. But the nod means something. It always does. You bring the water inside, and the children crowd around, hands cupped, splashing their faces with gasps and complaints. You envy their energy. Even when it's loud. Breakfast is the same as yesterday. And the day before that. Thin broth. Bits of root. A piece of something dried so long ago it barely remembers what it was. You eat it slowly, letting it sit on your tongue like a story you've heard too many times. Then it's time to work. Again. Always. Today, it's the Lord's field. The one with the heavy soil that clings to your boots like it has something to prove. You walk there with the others, a quiet procession of hunched backs and steady feet. The sky stays gray. The wind picks up, sharp and fast, as if it's late for something. You dig. That's all. Just dig. You loosen the ground with a bent wooden tool, pushing and pulling, the earth resisting in slow motion. Sometimes you think it would be easier to dig through rock. At least rock doesn't pretend it wants to grow something. Your back hurts before the sun is even high. But you keep going. Everyone does. A man near you coughs, deep and wet. He doesn't stop right away. No one says anything. He keeps digging, red-faced, breath short. Eventually, the coughing fades into the wind, like everything else. Marta works near the edge of the field. Her sleeves rolled up, arms steady. You watch her now and then, not for any reason, just because you can. There's a boy new to the village. Maybe 13. Maybe younger. He moves too fast, like he thinks speed will win him something. You want to tell him it won't. But you don't. Let him believe it for a while. At midday, you sit on a stone wall and pretend it's a bench. You eat what little you brought. A crust, mostly. The hard kind that scrapes your gums. You stare at the manor house in the distance. Stone walls, windows like eyes. The roof looks new. Someone patched it recently, maybe even with slate. Fancy. You wonder how warm it is in there. You wonder how quiet. Then you wonder what it would feel like to sit in a chair that didn't wobble. You snort softly. A kind of laugh, maybe. The kind you don't share with anyone else. After lunch, more digging. Then a few tools to repair. Then someone's chicken got loose again and wandered into the woods, so half the village spends an hour chasing it like it owes them money. By dusk, you're limping a little. Not enough to worry Marta. Just enough to remind yourself that you're not made of iron. Dinner is quieter tonight. Everyone's tired in that deep, full-body way, like the weariness reached your soul and unpacked its bags. The stew is thin again. But warm. The children eat first. You watch them for a moment. The way they hold the bowls like treasure. The way they scrape every last bit with their fingers. No one wastes. Not even the youngest. Later, you sit by the fire, Marta beside you, mending a tunic with a needle that's been passed down longer than your name. You think of your father. His voice. His hands. The way he used to hum when he worked, even when things were bad. You never figured out how he did that. The child on your lap drifts off, mouth open, one hand clutching a splintered toy. It used to have a head. You're not sure whose it was. You look up at the ceiling, still patched, still leaking a little. The rain will come back soon. It always does. And the mud. And the ache. But for now, the fire glows. Marta hums, barely louder than the crackle. Outside, the night stretches across the fields like a wool blanket, threadbare but soft. You close your eyes. You made it through another day. And that, somehow, still matters. But that, is a story for tomorrow night. It's raining again. Not a storm, just the kind of rain that's more of a suggestion. A slow, steady whisper on the roof. A reminder that the sky is always just a little disappointed in you. You lie still, listening. Drops tap the patched reed above your head. Some make it through. You count them when they land on your arm. 1, 2, wait, 3. Then silence again. A pause in the rhythm. You don't mind the wet. Not anymore. It's part of life now, like the smoke or the hunger or the way your boots always lean a little left. You think about staying in bed. Just for a moment longer. But the air is too cold. And the day is too loud already, even without words. So you sit up, slowly. Carefully. The fire's down to nothing again. The kind of nothing that pretends it was never even there. You poke at it with a stick, stir the black until something orange peeks out. You feed it gently. Old straw. A splintered bit of chair. You're always burning things you meant to fix. Behind you, Marta stirs. She doesn't speak, just nods once, the same tired greeting every morning. But in it, there's recognition. Like she sees you, even here, in this slow life you both pretend is normal. The children sleep longer. You don't blame them. Sleep is their last real freedom. You step outside. Mud, again. It squelches up around your boots like it missed you. The world smells like wet wool, chimney smoke, and sheep that haven't bathed since last spring. The sky is the color of metal. Dull, cold, and far too close. You pass the same trees. The same sagging fence. The same man muttering to himself while trying to convince a cart to move. It's all familiar, painfully so. At the field, the steward is waiting. Again. He holds a ledger like it's a weapon. A long list of names, most of which are spelled wrong. He doesn't say good morning. Just points. New quotas. Again. You nod. What else can you do? No one says no to someone who owns your roof, your land, and your life. So you start to work. Today, it's threshing. Separating the grain from the chaff. A job so dull it makes you nostalgic for digging. You swing the flail in a slow rhythm. Wood striking husk. Over and over. You can feel the vibration travel up your arms and into your back. The grain jumps a little with each strike, then settles like it's given up. You wonder how something so small can feed so many. Then you remember, it doesn't. Not really. A man next to you whispers, feels like I'm beating the air for sport. You smile, just barely. Dry humor makes the hours feel less sharp. Another man, younger, asks what day it is. No one answers. The days don't matter anymore. Just weather, work, and whatever's left after that. By midday, your shirt is damp with sweat, even in the cold. Your hands are raw, your back aching in the same old places. The rain keeps falling, but now it's gentle, almost soft. Like the sky is apologizing. You sit for a moment on a broken bench. You chew on the last of your bread, more crust than anything. It tastes like nothing, which is better than what it sometimes tastes like. You watch the birds. They pick at the fields with more grace than you ever had. Their feathers are bright against the dull earth. You envy them. A little. What if I was a bird, you think? Would I still worry about grain tax? You almost laugh. But instead, you go back to work. By the time the sun decides to show up, just briefly, just behind a cloud, your arms feel like sacks of stone. Your neck won't turn all the way. And your fingers have forgotten what warmth is. You walk home slower now. The mud doesn't argue. At the edge of the village, you pass old Mira. She's sitting under her lean-to, weaving a basket from twigs so thin they snap if you breathe on them wrong. Her hands shake, but she keeps going. You nod at her. She doesn't look up. But she hums a little. A song you haven't heard in years. You hum it too, just under your breath. At home, the children have drawn again in the dirt. This time it's a castle. Tall towers, a smiling king, flags in the wind. You don't tell them the truth, that castles are just bigger cages, and kings are usually bored or cruel. You let them dream. They deserve that much. Marta hands you a bowl. Warm, at least. Some kind of stew. You don't ask what's in it. You learned a long time ago that it's better not to ask. You eat it slowly. The fire crackles beside you, louder tonight. You found a good piece of dry wood yesterday and saved it for just this. That's the kind of thing that passes for a luxury now. The children fall asleep early, curled together like kittens. Marta sits beside you, quiet. After a while, she speaks. Do you ever think it'll get better? You don't answer right away. You watch the flames flicker, casting little shadows that dance across the ceiling. I think, you start. Then stop. You want to say, I think it won't. But that's too cruel to speak out loud. So instead you say, I think we'll keep going. She nods. That's enough for now. Later, as you lie in bed, you listen to the rain again. Softer now. Almost gone. The roof holds. Barely. Your hands are sore. Your feet colder than you'd like. But your heart is still beating. Slow. Steady. You're still here. And for tonight, that's something. You wake up before the light again. There's no rush. Just that slow, quiet hum in your chest, the one that always seems to whisper, get up, before someone asks you to. You stretch under the blanket, careful not to wake the little one who's clung to your side all night like ivy on stone. They murmur something in their sleep, then go still again. You hope their dreams are better than yours. Your joints ache more than usual this morning. Maybe the cold's settling in deeper now. Or maybe it's just your body, reminding you it's been doing this for too long. Outside, the world is soft with mist. The kind of mist that wraps around everything, quiets the animals, hides the broken things. Even the trees seem slower, standing there like old men remembering better days. You walk carefully across the yard. The grass is slick underfoot, and your boots have holes that no one talks about anymore. You should fix them. But that requires time. And thread. And the will. You reach the pigsty. They're already awake, snorting at you like they own the place. You smile at their usual grumpiness. Pigs don't care who you are. Just whether you feed them. You scatter what scraps you saved. They devour it like kings. Kings with bad manners and muddy feet. A chicken wanders too close, gets chased, flaps away. Life, even here, finds its small dramas. You sit on the edge of the trough for a while after, just breathing. You can hear the sound of someone coughing a few huts over, the same cough from yesterday. Maybe the same from last month. It has that dry, hollow tone that doesn't go away. You look toward the woods. Just for a moment. No one goes there without reason. It's too easy to disappear in those trees. Too easy to imagine never coming back. But still, what if? What if you just kept walking? What if you didn't turn back? But you do. Because of duty. Or fear. Or the child still asleep under your roof. Or maybe just habit. That heavy, invisible hand that steers you through every day like you're a wheel already carved. You return home to Marta stirring the fire, rubbing her hands together for warmth. She hands you a warm stone wrapped in cloth, not much, but enough to keep the numbness from creeping into your fingers. Any word from the village up north, you ask, not really expecting anything. She shrugs. Someone said their crops failed too. But they've got a priest with soft hands, so he says it's the people's fault. You nod. That sounds about right. The priest here isn't much better. He smells like wine and talks about sin more than mercy. You once asked him about hunger, and he told you to pray harder. You did. It didn't help. The steward arrives again before noon. He's on a horse this time, not his, of course, but he likes the way it makes people look up at him. The animal looks bored. Smarter than the man on top of it. He announces a new tithe. More grain. You watch the others. No one speaks. No one argues. Just that collective silence, like a field waiting for the plow. He rides away without thanks. The silence stays behind. Later, in the barley fields, you and Marta work side by side. The air smells like wet soil and iron. You're both quiet, falling into that steady rhythm of hands and breath and the occasional muttered curse when something snags. She says, I had a dream last night. We lived by the sea. You glance at her. What's the sea? She smiles, tired. No idea. But in the dream, it was blue. You nod slowly. Blue sounds nice. You want to believe in that dream. In water that stretches beyond anything you know. In salt and wind and not having to bow to anyone. But your hands are full of husks again. And the dream fades with the sun. The sun sets earlier now. The days are shrinking, like your patience, like your hope. But you don't mind the dark. Not anymore. Darkness feels honest. At least it doesn't promise what it can't give. At home, the stew is thicker tonight. Marta traded mended cloth for a bit of barley. You taste the difference. It's still simple, but warm in a way that makes you pause between bites just to feel it settle inside you. The children play with a broken spinning top. It doesn't spin well, but they cheer when it wobbles a full turn. You watch them. Quietly. The way you'd watch a candle. afraid to breathe too hard. Later, Marta hums again, that old tune, the one no one remembers the words to. You find yourself humming too. And for a moment, the room feels full. Not of things, but of something better. Something like memory. Or maybe just the idea of being remembered. You lie down, wrapped in old fabric, under a roof that sighs in the wind. You close your eyes. You think about the sea. You wonder if it's real. You wonder if you'd recognize it, if you ever saw it. The morning is fog. Not just in the fields or the hills, it's in your head, too. Soft, gray, slow. You don't wake with a jolt. You rise the way old trees lean, gradually, reluctantly, with a creak in every joint. Your breath comes out in little clouds. You watch it curl upward and disappear, like everything else in this world seems to. Marta is already up. So are the children. You hear them whispering. Their voices are soft, like they don't want to wake the house itself. You step outside. The world feels muffled. As if the sky has laid a heavy blanket over everything, trying to lull the earth back to sleep. You wish it would work. There's something oddly comforting about not seeing too far ahead. You walk into the mist without needing to know where you're going. That's life, anyway, one step at a time, no map, no guarantee. Your hands find work like they always do. A broken gate. A loose shingle. Things that will never really be fixed but still demand your effort. The village is slower today. The usual shouts are quieted. Even the pigs grunt like they've got sore throats. No one's in the mood for noise. You meet the others near the fields, same as always. A few nods. A few tired faces. You don't know all their names, even after all these years. But you know their feet. Their coughs. Their shoulders. It's a strange kind of closeness, the kind where no one says much, but you still feel less alone. There's talk of another plague, further south. You hear it in murmurs, traded like smuggled goods, fever, boils, black under the arms. Someone crosses themselves. Someone else spits. You just keep walking. What would change if it came here? The same work would wait. The same debts. The same aching mornings. Maybe there'd just be fewer hands to carry the burden. You pass the old well and glance down. The water's lower than it should be. You don't mention it. Some truths are too heavy for mourning. You remember when you were young, barely tall enough to lift a bucket, and you looked into that same well and wondered if the world below was kinder. Now you know better. Still, you drop the pail and draw water. The rope creaks like a tired throat. The bucket comes up half full. You take a sip. It tastes like stone. Someone once told you water remembers everything it touches. You wonder what yours remembers. By midday, your shoulders are tight. Your back burns. You've barely spoken a word. You've moved hay, patched fences, helped pull a cow out of a ditch. You've bled from a splinter. And no one thanked you. You don't expect thanks anymore. You just hope no one blames you. In the distance, you see a cart pass. It's carrying someone wrapped in cloth. No one follows. No one cries. Just one more silence in a day full of them. Later, when the sun slants low and the shadows stretch like yawns, you sit beneath an old oak near the edge of the fields. The tree is dying, fungus at the roots, bark splitting. But it still stands. You lean against it. The ground is cold. Damp. Familiar. You rest your head back and look up through its empty branches. There's a bird's nest tucked in one of them. Abandoned now. The twigs are brittle. But it's still a home, even if no one lives there. You feel something in your chest, not sadness, not quite. Just a quiet pull. A feeling like, something's always missing. But you've lived so long without it, you can't remember what it was. You close your eyes for a moment. You hear the wind through dry grass. The soft shuffle of someone passing by with a sack of grain. A dog barking, somewhere far. And under it all, that silence again. Not emptiness, just the kind of silence that holds things. Things no one says aloud. When you return home, the fire's already going. Marta gives you a look, one of those glances full of sentences. You nod. You're too tired to pretend today was anything other than what it was. She brings a bowl to your lap. There's a bit of leek in it tonight. A gift from the neighbor. In return for what, you don't know. Probably nothing. Sometimes kindness just appears, like fog, thin, quiet, unexpected. The children are drawing again. This time it's birds. One shows you proudly, this one's flying over the world. You smile, slow and warm. You don't tell him birds don't fly that far. You don't say that the world is mostly cold and hard and indifferent. You just say, that's a strong bird. Because sometimes a little lie is a softer pillow than the truth. That night, you lie in bed with the window shutter open just a crack. Enough to hear the wind if it returns. Enough to smell the damp soil. You think about that bird. The one flying over the world. You wonder what it sees. You wonder what it leaves behind. And you wonder if it's ever lonely. You drift slowly, the weight of the day melting into the straw mattress, the quiet of night wrapping itself around you like wool. Everything aches. But you're still here. You still breathe. And you still dream. The wind doesn't come this morning. There's no fog, no frost, no sound from the chickens. Just stillness, like the world itself has paused to catch its breath. You lie there for a while, eyes open, staring at the wooden beam above your head. You've counted its cracks before. You know them all. But you count them again. It's not a bad morning. Just quiet. In the way old things are quiet. Your legs ache, but not more than usual. Your stomach grumbles, but not louder than yesterday. The small things that have always been with you, still are. Marta stirs beside you, her breath steady. She hasn't aged so much as softened, like parchment curled gently by fire. You think about the years she's lived in this same little room. The way she hums to herself. The way she scolds the chickens like they can understand. You wonder if she dreamed again last night. The sea, maybe. Or the blue. You sit up slowly, careful not to wake her. The floor is cold. You step outside and find the sky wide and gray, stretched thin like old cloth. There are no footsteps in the mud. No smoke from the neighbors' roofs yet. Just silence, holding everything in place. You walk a little farther than usual today. Past the fields. Past the well. Up near the edge of the forest, where the trees lean close, as if whispering to each other. You've always avoided this path. Too far. Too much trouble. Too many old stories. But today, something feels different. Not lighter. Just looser, like the rope tying you to your routine has slackened, and the knot isn't as tight as it once was. You stop at a small rise where the land opens just enough to see the horizon. Not far, just enough. You sit on a rock, feel the moss under your palms. There's a bird nearby, pecking at something in the dirt. Small. Ordinary. Not the flying over the world kind. But still, it moves with purpose. It knows what it's looking for. You wonder if you ever did. You think about your life, not all of it, just flashes. The time you tried to run, but turned back after 3 hours because the wind changed. The stew with too much salt that made everyone laugh, even with their mouths full. The way your child once asked if dirt could be planted back into the sky. You think about how many times you stood in a field, back bent, hands raw, and wondered what it was all for. And the answer was always, survival. Not glory. Not wealth. Just the right to wake up again the next day. No one will write your name. No bard will sing your story. You are one of thousands. Forgotten before the mud dries on your boots. But you were here. You mattered to someone. You mattered to Marta. To the children. To the pig who grunted when you were late. To the neighbor who traded you barley and never asked for thanks. To the earth that took your footprints. You close your eyes and feel the wind begin again, soft and low, brushing against your cheek like a memory. It smells like wood smoke and damp wool and soil, that old, honest smell of a life lived close to the ground. And maybe that's enough. You walk back slowly. Not because you're tired, though you are, but because there's no need to rush. The day is short, but not urgent. Back at home, Marta has warmed the stew. The children are quiet, drawing again. You glance over their shoulders. A bird, again. This one in a nest. You don't ask what it means. Some things are better left soft and wordless. You eat slowly. You listen to the fire crackle. You trace the rim of your bowl with your thumb, and let your thoughts come and go like drifting ash. Later, you sit by the door, wrapped in a patched blanket. You watch the sun ease itself down the sky. Not a grand exit. Just a quiet surrender. The light touches the fields one last time. Then it's gone. You lie down for the night. The roof creaks overhead. The fire has turned to embers. The children breathe gently, their limbs tangled like roots. Marta's hand rests near yours. There's nothing new to hope for. But there's peace in that. In knowing the worst is past. In knowing you endured. Not because you were brave. Not because you were chosen. Just because you kept going. And now, you can rest. You close your eyes. And let the weight of the world soften, at last.